so in this one, we are going to be doing my Dragon Ball Legends Part 1 of the 8th anniversary tier list here. This is purposely being done today because Yellow Goku Black is getting, obviously, his big unique equip that is getting added to the game and, going to be dropping at reset. So I want to see kind of a before and after. So I should, if Yellow Goku Black is good enough, which a lot of people are saying, they're talking crazy on the guy. They're really glazing the guy already before it even drops in game. But if it is, like it should be, good enough to make a high impact in the meta, then I can upload another tier list this weekend where it's, again, a before and after of what he is doing from where he's not in the meta to where he is in the meta. So it'll be interesting to see how he does shift. If he does shift the meta, even Red Broly could have maybe some impact in the week after that, and we'll see from there. But let's get into this here, with it being Mr. LF Janemba at number 10. Now, let me not put too much stock into this for you here in case you're thinking like, wow, this is crazy. Realistically, anything that's not within the top 6, I would say, within this tier list doesn't really matter at all. There's no merit to even try to use this unit in a capacity of like, this is the top tier dogs. Kind of is just a whatever placement at these points in these, down here echelons. And unfortunately, I guess fortunately as well, but unfortunately, LF Janemba is not really moving any mountains. I mean, he's on a little bit of a boost here, so he's doing better than he once was, and he's okay enough, but I mean, he still has a little problem where he's still 13's little sidekick when he's run. If you don't run him with 13, you're just making him 50 billion times worse. And, Android 13 is still very good right now because he has his tier boosting, and tier boosting definitely is, prompting a lot of these units to get higher up on placement, but he is specifically really designed to have 13 with him, Mr. Janemba. So when that's not the case, it just gets really funky. So he really has only one team build of like Broly, 13, and himself. And that's not a bad build, it's just inferiority, right? When you get lower and lower on the list, you are just kind of becoming those subpar options, those mediocre options. So while Janemba can do some niche things, a little bit of burst potential, again, I'm not like hating on Janemba here. It's just he makes the list. Does he really matter to the list? No, but he makes the list. So I mean, there's something more than something not. So good job for the guy there. Moving on though into number 9, and again, obviously as we go further in, there'll probably be more details to the unit because they actually have more meta impact. Number 9 is going to be the only unit without any safety in the game, being Mr. Buuhan. You have every other unit on this list: Janemba, Bardock, Vegeta, Trunks, Vegito, Gogeta Blue, Rose, Broly, and 13. Every single one has at least endurance, if not a way, maybe not a full 100% of the match way, but a way to gain safety in their own merit, to not die to Stardust Fall. Buuhan is the one unit in this list that does not. Now, Buuhan is very low because of that. Buuhan was on these more higher tiers for a lot of people, especially more recently of, when Bardock was happening, and then maybe went down because of Rose, sure, but still, he was on those higher echelons going up and up and up, and maybe just touching a little bit downward. But now Stardust Fall has arrived, and if you just get caught by that, then you're going to make your whole team die. You're going to have that unit itself die because it doesn't have nullified endurance. So, like, okay, there's a way to escape it, and basically having endurance is a prerequisite to being a top-tier unit right now. Buuhan, he doesn't have that. While he can work well with, like, again, obviously, Broly, red-green color synergy there. It's very nice, very nuanced, and lovely. It's just not really something that's going to work out too well. I mean, even if you run that team red-green, then whatever third you want, really, literally whatever third you want, you're just going to be Vegito's victim. I would say Vegito right now is very free and dominant. You could look at the yellows on this list. You'll see that Bardock, who is not fully consistently having Indestructible, is going to be getting in a bad spot most of the time, as well as Janemba is just barely touching the top 10. So you're going to always have that Vegito kind of just back foot just ready to murder you, as well as Vegito runs with Gogeta. So it's going to be very scary for Buuhan to ever even be used. I don't even think you'll ever see Buuhan anymore. This kind of is just what happens during Anniversary. Every unit that's kind of subsequent to it, beside the latest unit, let's say Rose is the latest unit, is going to kind of just blip down. And maybe there's nuanced, niche units that can kind of go up within like tier boosts. Like we have Android 13, we have Janemba, we have whatever. That's nice for sure, but we most likely will see the decline of the older units and the uprising of just whatever the newest of the newest is. And again, the bottom tiers here, you are seeing it being the older units, and it'll just progressively get to newer buff, newer unit, etc., etc., unless, again, anomalies exist, which there is a little bit in this list. So quick 9 through 10 there. Again, don't really mean much to me. Even got this shit written down because, you know, got to be an expert on these. And you see all these crossouts and stuff I was trying to contemplate and figure out, but we continue on forward, seeing, and we do go into number 8. I actually had this guy a little bit higher initially, but after more and more usage against them, and primarily against them, because I definitely don't like using him because he's a piece of shit, or at least he once was. We move on into Mr. Bardock. I'm happy that Bardock is here, because Bardock and Rose was a very obnoxious duo last season. It got so bad that I started playing Proud Mode, and Proud Mode wasn't that bad to play, actually, unless I fought Bardock Rose there, which it was fucking hellscape. But simplicity finds itself yet again where Stardust Fall exists, and again, this is just more so inevitability that's going to strike Bardock, where it is that eventually Stardust Fall will hit him. You make one mistake when you have Bardock, and Stardust Fall will hit you. You'll take 4 million damage on everybody. Bardock's going to die as well, because you don't have your indestructible up, and then boom, your team just took a cumulative of 14 million damage, and guess what happened from there? Oh my god, Bardock also died. So what the hell did he provide that's good in that sequence? Nothing. And that's kind of just where his mainstay is going to be. Yeah, I get it. You can kind of save your indestructible and try to time it and make everything pitch perfect, but there's only so much you can do when you're actually in play. You're not always going to be able to get your perfect scenario. You're always idealistic and everything like that, especially with kind of a sloppy unit like Bardock, where you're meant to take a couple hits and then swap out and blah, blah, blah. But when you have that indestructible where it's like barely about to end, and then there's going to be like an off few settings where you just don't have it, you don't have your swap ready, and then boom, they drop combo, they do this, they just full screen it. They just do something to catch you off guard, and you don't have it. Bardock is pulling a metal cooler on your team and making you lose to guaranteed damage inflicted, if not just killing himself, as well as making your whole team 1 HP as well. So Bardock is just a very big liability to you right now. There is no real positive to running him in my eyes. Like, even if you were to say, okay, he's good against Snap Cheetah, he's good against Vegeta, obviously, because, you know, color advantage and being a legend, he does more damage to the purples, it wouldn't even be worth it. Like, there's just nothing really that you need there. And even again, you would just run Vegeta with Gogeta or Nap Cheetah with Gogeta, because they're both ranged or they're both fusion, whatever you like. And you're always going to have that red just alongside that purple. So, unfortunately for Bardock, not for everybody, only for Bardock, the man can't really do much that's actually going to make an impact of positivity for you right now. So you kind of just, you're taking that back foot, which, you know, sucks for the nuance of what he has in design, I guess, but, like, it's not a very positive design. I mean, Bardock really is what Metal Cooler was trying to be, but now that we have this mechanic of what this is, and these units are clearly intended to be good against, you know, Rose and Bardock, of Gogeta versus Bardock and Broly versus Rose, clearly the intent's there within the color advantage and kind of the kit's design a little bit. It does suck that a unit like this would fall off so quickly and be, you know, this guy was top 2 last fucking tier list, and now motherfucker 8, bro. Like, maybe you could argue him a little bit higher, maybe, but he wouldn't get past number 6 for me. And the fact that he's below some of these others, it's pretty daunting for the guy. But nonetheless, let me take a little sip here while we get into a little bit more of important units. Again, this doesn't really start getting important in my eyes until number 6 and up. Beautiful. Number 7, though, you move on, and I think Sword of Hope Trunks is there. Now, Sword of Hope Trunks, to Bardock, I was always contemplating. I actually kind of had it swap-swapped beforehand, and I switched it back because I was using Sword of Hope today. I really wanted to see something within him, even though he's only 5 stars for me. And I was seeing the potential man in him. I think both these units do have that accessibility of potential man, where like Bardock could, in your idealistics, could do some things. And I saw it more easier within Trunks, because when I first saw Broly being what he is, I thought, okay, there's got to be someone that can kind of just like kill him before all that shit happens, you know, all the multi-transformations, all the annoyances, whatever. And I thought of Trunks, and I was like, okay, something's to this, right? Like, I'm not just, like, tweaking, thinking that Trunks is the guy that could do something to this guy. I wouldn't say I'm wrong. It's just that Trunks won't always be able to do something to Broly. Well, yes, he can, and obviously, the Sword of Hope happens, and I've done it already, where Trunks will kill them within the Sword of Hope, and it's like, oh, well, Broly's in only Armor Super Saiyan, so, he actually did his role where he's, getting a little bit of a increase of value, at least in this current meta. I think he just does that a little bit better than Bardock ever survives, because this is more looking at it where it's like, Trunks can at least have a combo taken. Okay, well, from there, he's going to seal the entire thing, and then maybe you can kind of get a little bit of a sequence of pushback, and you maybe catch them out in a combo, do a little green card, you get a little, sub count up on them, do a little bit of spam strikes, you got some nice stuff going on there. I would say within that, gives a little bit more... I'm really trying to be positive on Trunks, and I'm just like, there's no positive within these two right now. It's just a fuckery. But still, I give it more kindness to Trunks because there's a little bit more of potential within him to do a little bit of burst strikes, a little bit of sort of hoping, a little bit of sealing, a little bit of reducing their ki, and maybe the allies he has as well. I ran sort of whole Trunks with LSV as well as Rose, and it was like, okay, this was decent enough. I mean, maybe it wasn't perfect, but it was decent enough. Obviously, Vegito is going to carry a lot there. Rose is going to do a lot, but Trunks can have a little bit of a back, end third unit goodness session. And I felt like I saw that more while running Trunks than I felt that when I was fighting Bardock. While Bardock might have a better team than Trunks, I would still probably opt for Trunks in my matches. Just because, again, there's just some sequences where he will do stuff, and Bardock in those same sequences will probably do mediocre stuff. And again, despite the team, I just think Trunks does a little bit better than Bardock. Again, it's not a big deal. If you want to swap them, I wouldn't care. I just feel as though, from usage, that Trunks has a little bit more going on for himself right now than Mr. Bardock. And maybe that changes with him, this upcoming week or part 2 or whatever. We'll see. But for now, I do like Trunks actually being above Mr. Bardock. And again, I want Trunks to be better than he's ever been. I want Trunks to be top 3, top 2. So I hope something happens for the guy. I actually like the design of Trunks to a more positive degree than a negative degree. So I do want this guy to actually start shining more than just being, average on tier list and kind of just, sometimes falling real down, sometimes maybe only springing up for a little bit. I want it to be more consistent Trunks on like a higher end. But nonetheless, we actually move on to the tier list starting to matter of number 6, where it is, surprisingly from me, Android 13. This guy has been added to, I believe it's the A tier boost, right? If I'm not mistaken, alongside Janemba, and that is a very strong thing. This man does debuff big attacks a lot. I believe it's like, 30-40%, so... You obviously have Rose doing infinite blues and ultimates. You have, Vegito doing multiple ultimates. You have all these annoying units doing their big attacks. And Android 13 just low-key lives them all. I mean, I've seen it where Android 13 lived a goddamn LSV ramped up high star shit. And it's like, okay, I saw him live my own UGB 2.0 here. Neutral, drop combo, multiple cards, Stardust Fall. I'm like, who the fuck does this guy think he is? And he's just moving crazy, as well as, more importantly, very much more importantly, clearly, because this is a unit that really goes for this idea, the teams. I think one of the best teams in the game right now is going to be 13, Vegito, and Gogeta Blue. You don't really need 3 beat sticks on your team, in my opinion. So where it goes is you have that kind of rotational support within 13, the rotational sub count lowering there. And while that team is not necessarily beefy in its own sake, I would say Vegito is decently sustainable, but Gogeta's, I think it's pretty obvious to say Gogeta's a glass cannon. I think you rotate support enough and rotate healing enough to where that team does give it where it feels much more oppressive than any other team in the game. Even though you only have 2 damage dealers, the oppression 13 creates within the other 2 and for the other 2, and giving them the sustain they can have within the healing they can give them of that rotation, it is very nice. I would say, again, if you are looking to just kill people and win your matches, you are going to run 13, Vegito, and Gogeta Blue. And I would say a lot of people own that because 13's not very, It's not very new. It's not very old. Like, you probably own 13, right? Like, you just most likely own him, and he's also on Broly's banner, I believe. Vegito, you definitely own because it's a fucking fusion, and Gogeta Blue, you probably went for Gogeta Blue, so, like, you probably have that team. Just try that team out. The damage it does is very overwhelming, and you won't see any other team do that same damage. Like, even movies, which I will mention, another very good team for 13 to run on, of 13, Gogeta Blue, and Broly, you definitely feel that lack there, because Broly is being this more wall type, and while Gogeta Blue is definitely going to carry on the damage front on that team, at least until Broly kind of gets going within multiple transformations, takes a couple cards, does a couple cards, and Broly's kind of doing a different role than Vegito, obviously, you still will feel pretty nice damage, but again, the other team, the glassy team, I guess you could call, it is the one where I really feel 13 is just, like, shining star. I mean, there's more, I'm sure, of teams, but that is, like, that is why he's here for me. I don't really care about the movie team. I don't really care about any other team that you can formulate, you know, let's say 13, Vegeta, and Gogeta Blue. I don't care about those. Yeah, they exist. I don't care about them. That one team of Blue, Red, Purple, of technically Fusion Warrior, because he is a fusion when he does revive Mr. 13 here. Super strong power, bro. Super strong power. I just try it yourself. I can't really tell you more. Just run that shit, and you will be glad you started running that. If you're thinking, like, this is hellish, you know, Broly's terrorizing my entire life, which I don't think Broly is any real terror specifically, because I think Vegito checks him very well. Not perfectly. He's not countering him. But if you think Broly is that big of a state of, like, causing you pain, that team will alleviate all that pain. Run that, try that. Can't say more on it. 13, incredible value. He probably will retain this until part 2, because the boost does last until part 2, because it's a longer season than not. So enjoy him while you can. If he makes the top 10 after the boost leaves, I'd be amidst, but enjoy him while you can. He's here, so use him. He's doing a great job right now for you, and he is actually helping the meta more than hurting the meta, because he is amplifying damaging units, and Broly is a good attempt at kind of stopping damaging units and forcing timers. So run that man. I'd rather fight him and that trio than fighting Broly, because Broly is very obnoxious. Moving on, though, into number 5. Ooh, we're getting up there, of Mr. Vegeta. Yes, sir. Ooh, look at that tide tier up there. What's happening up there? Huh? We'll see. Vegeta is, I was pretty heavily contemplating Mr. 6 and 5, swapping here of Vegeta and 13, but I did go against it at the end of the day, because I think the burst damage of Vegeta still is looking pretty devious and pretty impactful. But I am noticing the trend of Vegeta, where I believe they did lose their A-tier boost, I believe it was, which A-tier boost is not a low boost, right? They've actually buffed A-tier boost in the subsequent boost recently. So them losing that, you were kind of getting the Orange Piccolo effect. I know Orange Piccolo got really destroyed by, you know, Vegito, and that's kind of like the reason he really fell down. But he was more of just a stat whore, right? When he was being run, it was with, you know, alongside Buhan, Kid Buu, maybe, you know, Legend Piccolo, whatever. He was just a big stat whore. And once those stats kind of were allowed to fade within, let's say, a tier boost go down, or units were catching up to those big stats, you know, within their own inflation of just, it's a new unit, so they have this crazy inflation, they just really went down really quickly, these units. Orange Piccolo being a prime candidate. I mean, you could even see on the list, LF Orku, also stat inflation character, who's not on the list anymore. Orku having that be the case, he also make the list as well. And I think we're starting to see that with Vegeta. I would like to run them, but I feel just more confident running anyone else that is in the bottom 4 there that have not been placed, or I'd say the top 4 there haven't been placed. And again, not trying to dog on them, but I just noticed their defenses are just piss poor at this point. You know, maybe it is just Vegito being Vegito, but when I'm using a Vegito, and this is the other purple to argue, so it makes sense that I'm trying to compare it to a degree of like which purple you want to run. I'm trying to use, you know, my Vegito against Vegeta, and I run into Vegeta a decent bit. I remember one sequence, and this is like sticking out to my brain here. I believe my Vegito, who didn't really have much ramp up, maybe like 2 or 3 cards ramped up of drawing, as well as not even engaged yet, did like 60% on a strike to a Vegeta in like pre. And I was like, huh? That's what we're moving like? We're moving like that Vegito? Like, maybe that's just Vegito being fucking God. But also, that has to be some essence of just Vegeta losing their tier boost and just kind of, starting to get that big decline moment that's going to happen soon. So we'll see. I mean, Yellow Goku Black, again, is going to get a buff soon. So we'll see what he does to these purples. I think Vegeta is definitely more susceptible to getting fucked over by Yellow Goku Black than Vegito. But both do have that red ally, so maybe they won't get screwed over as bad as I assume here. Nonetheless, I don't really see anything specifically amazing about them. Again, this is why I was very much contemplating 5 to 6. It is just more so the stat inflation is still active enough to where I can validate them 5. But again, if you were to say Android 13 is better than Vegeta, I wouldn't be like, that's crazy. I'd be like, I see the perspective. I don't know if I agree, and that's kind of where I am right now. I see the perspective of that. And I probably could agree if you convinced me a little bit or try to convince me a little bit. But for now, just keep it here. Let's keep it all peachy. Number 5 for Vegeta. But I feel the decline is just like right there. It literally is like inevitability. It's gotta happen, which we'll probably see within next week, to be fair. Or this weekend, at least. And then move on to the big 4, with it being a top 4 you can't contemplate. I think this is the guaranteed top 4 in the game right now. Whatever your order is, it is what it is. I don't think everyone in the top 4 can be number 1, but we, progress here and talk about number 4 himself of Legend Rose. Yes, Legend Rose has lost value. Again, this guy was number 1 in the game within the previous, situation of the meta. But again, these units are intended to be good against the oldest current most meta legend units. I mean, I don't know how to even word it. They're meant to be good against the legends of the newest essence and the current newest meta before anniversary. And Rose got to take a hit from that. Now, Rose is definitely not like folding under the pressure. Within that, he's still number 4. I would say Rose is probably doing better than you would anticipate right now, because he can be so neutral 24/7 within damn near almost every combo Rose does is going to be neutral, right? He's going to do a blue card, he's going to do an ultimate, multiple ultimates, multiple blue cards, and those can really do well against Broly, which clearly Broly is meant to be his op. He's clearly blue, so he does more against Gogeta blue. So he's decent against both these new units, but I don't think there's anything finite that makes him better than them. That's kind of where it ends for Rose for me. Stardust Fall having the impact and kind of oppression state that it can create on the entire match, especially once you start popping endurances, is going to be so overwhelming, you can't really do anything about it. You really are just a victim to it at the end of the day. So I don't think Rose has anything in his kit that kind of matches that oppression, as well as Gogeta Blue's normalcy is just really strong as well. And then Broly, when I look at Broly, there's nothing really there. I'm just like, okay, Rose is doing this better. I mean, yeah, sure, the damage, of course, but is Rose really taking down a Broly every single match or any real matches that's like consistent? No, even if you're going to run Rose with like Vegito, I would say it's more so Vegito at that point. Rose's kind of just like in the background a little bit. It's okay to run Rose right now. It's just not your best foot forward. It really kind of just like moves downward a little bit on a pedestal if you're looking at it. It's like, here's the top, here's the almost top, and then here's like where Rose's sitting. And it's like, you can. It's not like he's a bad unit. It's just there's nothing ideal for him in this current time. You get a little shit popped up, and then boom, you're just waiting for Stardust Fall to murder you because Vegito did 3 cards and popped your first life. All right, well, shucks. What do I do now? I'm just sitting duck. Or I'm fighting Broly, and then this Broly's just standing still with his fucking transformation ready, or he has his guard situation ready in his legendary Super Saiyan form. Well, shucks, now I'm just a sitting duck. Like, there's sequences where Rose and everyone basically on this list is going to end up being in that boat of like, ah, shit, what do I do now? And I think Rose can hit that more off better than others for sure, at least to deal with it, but still he doesn't deal with it fully. So he hits number 4 there, does all right, but not good enough, unfortunately, for the top tiers. And this is where we get interesting. Number 2/3 is a slash me, meaning that I think you could interchange them. You can have this guy is 2, this guy is 3, or this guy is 3 and this guy is 2. And well, let's just get into it here. We do have it where number 2/3, and I'm ordering it where number 2 is Vegito, is going to be Vegito and Gogeta. Yes, I think Vegito has got his shackles broken within everything this meta has created, where Bardock has just been put down like a stray dog, at least for the most part. Again, it's pretty obvious that Bardock is not the one to use right now. He is probably your biggest liability that can be on this list. It's really tough to say that because he's so new, but he is a very big liability. So Vegito, again, Shackles Unleashed. This man is destroying the world. Again, as I mentioned, that team with Android 13, it is looking very devious for them to up there, Mr. 2/3. And I think Vegito, I always will end up going into more than Gogeta, which is why I end up putting it where Vegito is above Gogeta. When I'm thinking of normalcy of combos and normalcy of doing a damage inflicted and all these things, I'm going to always feel more positive and feel more so, unless I have a green card, which again, that's just not consistency. I'm going for consistency here. I will go to Vegito instead of Gogeta because the yellows aren't there. The yellows aren't there to scare me. If there's going to be a blue in the match, okay, well, why would I go to Gogeta blue? I'll go to Vegito, right? Rose is a pretty common unit. 13s become more common. I'll always go into Vegito, and I think going into Vegito more often than not, it's what's giving that state for me where I'd have Vegito above Gogeta. And while I assume you would think, oh, but Stardust Fall, I agree, Stardust Fall is crazy. But you have to get to the Stardust Fall. The whole thing is right now is that everyone here on this list basically has safety, right? They have their own safety, and the way Stardust Fall will be optimized is by doing all these cards and popping the endurances and doing this really quick burst and kind of getting them to that sequence. And I think Vegito subsequently amplifies Gogeta to get there, so Vegito is the one that's getting Gogeta to that finishing line and to do those Stardust Falls to the most effective nature for you. For sure, you could do the drop combo Stardust Fall, get some a lot of damage, but you're not going to kill anybody because you did it intending just for damage and not for killing. For sure. But the more optimal Stardust Fall is actually just guaranteeing a kill within. Vegito did 3 cards, 4 cards, okay, Rose Endurance gone, okay, you went to Gogeta Blue, you did a card, and then boom, you Stardust fell, and then killed. Well, that's Vegito doing the heavy lifting, and then Gogeta doing the finishing move. So I would have it where Vegito is above because of that. Again, this is not to downplay Gogeta, it's just that Gogeta has more ops against him. Within that, that creates a sequence where, okay, well, Vegeto's so free, let's just let him do all the heavy lifting. And maybe if it was reverse, then yeah, Gogeta would be higher. It wouldn't even be shared spot. It would actually be Gogeta 2, Vegito 3, and then whatever's the case from there. But because Vegito is the free one, Vegito's the one that's going to be more powerful in the match of just doing your damage or even defending sometimes, because again, there just won't be a yellow as commonplace as there is going to be blue units because people are trying to counter out Gogeta. They're not trying to counter out Vegito, and if they were, again, Gogeta would destroy them for trying to do that. So I have it where Vegito's number 2. Explaining his kit would be just redundant, but to even further it, I would say the simplicity of it would be he draws cards, which actually it's very, very fucked up. Maybe it's on purpose, but Broly does his blue cards and they destroy your hand. Vegito, when he draws cards, is game damage inflicted. So Broly will destroy your hand and then subsequently give you hella damage inflicted because you let your Vegito take said blue card. Literally buffed him by running into Broly, who is meant to be destroyed by Vegito. Again, he's not fully like dead and gone by Vegito, but like he's definitely, if there's a check, that's the check, right? To Mr. Broly. And then you move on even from there, it's just drawing cards, doing cards, getting the gauge. I mean, Vegito has the highest per card base damage inflicted you're going to see in the entire game. Until Gogeta gets like a full ranged proper roster, and I don't think Napgeta and 13 really is that, because I don't think Napgeta really amplifies Gogeta to any degree. I would say Vegito definitely helps him get to that threshold further because Vegito does more per damage card. Until that becomes the case and Gogeta can kind of just always have blast cards, always ready to spam them, Vegito's going to do more damage inflicted. He just gets more damage inflicted. Again, this is not counting Stardust Fall, but yeah, I already went over why you'd wait for Stardust Fall. So I like Vegito number 2 there. Gogeta, again, very, very good. It's not like he's here just because there's like consolation. No, he does his job very efficiently. He can solo matches. He can do a little bit of a, maybe comeback situation. Not maybe idealistically. I'd actually probably have Vegito in a comeback situation more than I'd have Gogeta. But he definitely can do some nice things. He does do great bursting within having blast cards. You do the strikes with Vegito, then you do the blast cards with Gogeta, and then you kind of move on from there. The extra cover null he gets within getting the gauge. He basically has 10 counts cover null when he is comboing, 15 counts if you do have a green card as well. So he does have a lot of cover null for a modern day philosophy unit, which is very nice. And more so from there, I mean, he really is just putting down a lot of units, and he's forcing you to run a meta that maybe you weren't really anticipating. You weren't thinking, oh, I always have to have an endurance or safety unit. Like, yeah, everyone thinks I should have maybe a safety on my team, at least one, maybe two, if I want to feel good. But now you must run a full team that has a safety mechanic on them, an endurance, a revival, a blah, 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 blah. You must. And that's what Gogeta is creating for the entire game. And I think that itself gives him the top tier placement that he has here, number 3. For me, again, clearly you could swap them. I would not. I would keep it like this. I think Vegito does more in matches as of current. Hey, we'll see. Again, Yellow Goku Black. That's why I'm doing this tier list today, because it's a before and after. It's a snapshot tier list. But we'll see. And then you go to number 1 of Broly. Well, I do mention throughout this entire video of, here's Trunks, who's kind of a low-key check on Broly, or Vegito, who's like a really good answer to Broly. Broly still doesn't really care from my experience. So I actually just 14-starred him, which is great for me. Mind you, I also have a 14-star Vegito, so trust me, I've used both ends of this here. Lower star Gogeta is only 8, but still, I still think Gogeta would do less per card than Vegito. But nonetheless, I've used both ends of these high tiers of just the one to one another of 1/2 here for me, and I mean, it's just kind of annoying what Broly is. I mean, he'll only get better as well. Broly's going to get Yellow Goku Black as a teammate. Right now, I would say his best team is probably going to flow alongside something of Rose, Broly, and then maybe Vegito or Gogeta or whatever. I mean, if you want to put Bardock, feel free, but like you're really shooting yourself in the foot with that one, because you're kind of just hurting Broly's health so much with Stardust Fall if it lands improperly. But nonetheless, even without a maybe full finite perfect team, which I think will spawn within today of Yellow Goku Black, the damage he does after taking some hits, he builds up by doing cards. He retaliates as well by taking cards, so definitely can get to a very high degree of damage. The way he creates the oppression state that he has, again, I mentioned this with Gogeta, when he has his oppression state of Stardust Fall. Oh my god, what can you do when you have your endurances popped? You're really just playing in a checky spot, and you're really just hoping for things to go your way instead of actually forcing things to go your way at that point, because you're really in a really, cautious state. With Broly, I feel like you're always just annoyed and being forced to run something against him. I think a top tier broken unit like that is always one you're always trying to counter out. Broly, you have to run a team that's going to be good against him, or you will just be his food. So you are forced more so to run Vegito than you are to run anybody else in the game right now, because you want to get Broly done and dusted. And the fact that he's forcing you to run a specific unit to be as good as he is, now given Vegeto's also being very good because yellows are down, for sure, but it's also because you need someone to beat down Broly. And Broly won't just kill over and die from a Vegito, right? He'll have Broly transform, stop your combos multiple times. You could just stand there like an idiot and just get kind of a Buhan scenario for Broly, where, at least Buhan in his prime, where you're just going to stand there and just blue card, and then blue card again, and then you're going to your legendary Super Saiyan state, and then you're just standing there and just waiting for them to do an action, and then boom, you just get free damage inflicted on them because you just stood there like an idiot. And I think that state where you really can't have a finite answer to Broly, to just murder him outright really quickly, is what gives his power to be number 1 for me. Again, maybe, I think there's actually a world I can argue Vegito number 1, and maybe there's even a world you can argue Gogeta number 1. But I think because you have to counter him out, you have to build teams around him, you have to play a sequence of like, I really need to defeat this guy quickly or I'm just in hell. I think that amplifies him to a degree where he is just the best. There's not even one specific thing about Broly. Yeah, his defense is great. Yeah, his retaliation damage is amazing. Yeah, he has all those great quirks and all, awesome stuff. But even more so than that, you just have to play around him. There's nothing you can do. You have a Broly in a match, you're not going to be like, oh man, this is going to be easy, light work. This is my Bardock now. No, Broly's no Bardock. Broly's no Buhan, where Buhan was super frail. Like, Broly is just built different. And I think because of that, again, I'll repeat, building sequence around him, it does amplify him to a really high degree. And I think he'll only get better. Again, Yellow Goku Black is being talked about as he's going to be some really, really dominant god, and maybe he'll be like peaking 5 for me on a list. I mean, I'm just thinking like, visually here, from seeing what his plat does. If that's the case, then you have someone that even helps check out Vegito even more. So Maybe you don't even have that right now, but I think, you know, Rose can do very good against, obviously, Vegito, because who's going to stop Rose at that point? If you're going to run 13, Vegito, Gogeta, Rose is roaming free, and Rose is going to be a very good damage dealer when Broly's not doing damage and not tanking. When you're in offense, Broly having that partnership of Rose there does work out very nice. If you're even running Broly, Rose, and Vegito, you're going to have 2 units at that point that can be very free within a decent amount of matches of Rose's free and Vegito's free. So the pairing of anybody being alongside Broly here does help as well. And again, I just don't think he's getting victimized by Vegito like that. Yeah, sure, he definitely can be fucked up, but there's also ways to fuck up that team as well, where you have this kind of different state of here's your really defensive unit and here's your really glass cannon team. And I think Broly would prevail more than he would fail in those settings, because those glass cannon teams, you make those mistakes, you are getting punished really severely. Well, with Broly, you can make a lot of mistakes and not get punished as severely, and then you just end up winning by the power of attrition, because you have the same echelon of power on damage inflicted, maybe not the highest tier, but the same, you know, area. And then from there, it kind of goes to the point of I just was allowed to take more combos, and I end up winning because of that. If you're running, again, Broly, Vegito, Gogeta, rather, Rose as an example versus like 13, and then the amplifying glazing team, you have less sequences of getting out of jail. And I think that's where Broly gets to be number 1, because he is supplying that. He is the reason that is being the case. So that is my beginning of 8th anniversary top 10 tier list here of part 1. Obviously, I do expect to make more. Again, Yellow Goku Black should make some movement where Vegeta would go down, Vegeta, you know, these things should happen. So I expect that. If not, maybe Red Broly will do the same. If it's valid, obviously make a new one. But right now, my top 10 list, ending off the video here, would be Legend Broly number 1. Number 2/3 being Legend Vegito and Ultra Gogeta Blue 2.0. Number 4 being Legend Rose. Number 5 being Legend Limited Vegeta. Number 6 being Android 13 LF. Number 7 being Ultra Sword Hope Trunks. Number 8 being Legend Bardock. Number 9 being Ultra Buhan. And number 10 being Legends Limited Janemba. What do you guys think of the list? I'll see you guys in the next one.